Another day of rain. Yay, yay, yay. More rain, yay. Never has there ever been a better day made for a mocha. That's the truth right there. Because it's about 5 degrees above zero right now. And one of you guys was talking about my temperature gauge the other day. That's right beside the barbecue, by the way. Saying, hey, it says 15 degrees on your temperature gauge. Well, guess what? The temperature gauge is right beside the barbecue, which was on, emanating heat. And that's why it was showing 15 degrees Celsius on that thermometer. It's the barbecue was heating it up, right? But outside, it's pretty cold. It's about as uncomfortable as you can get, and still staying wet at the same time. So it's just above freezing, and it's pretty brutal. It's not fun. It's not comfortable. I don't like it. No, it's not good training weather. Garrison Bai, one of my patron supporters, would probably love this. He'd probably be rolling around the mud puddles and lifting some rocks or whatever. Maybe eating rocks. I don't know what he'd be doing, but he's hardcore, so he'd probably love this shit. He'd just be like, Mocha, who needs that? I don't need coffee. I just eat rocks and roll around in mud puddles and chew on the ice chips. That's what he does. So welcome back to Natural Glam Bodybuilding, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about training at the gym as opposed to training at home and why I like to do both. I like to train at the gym just because the gym has a different atmosphere and obviously different equipment. And sometimes you want to be a specialist in the gym, or sometimes you have an achy area, or say your lower back is tight from doing bent over rows or squats or whatever, and you still want to train legs, you still want to train hamstrings. Well, the gym has a lot of machines that can allow you to do this without you overstressing or overtraining a certain area. So this begs the question, can you overtrain one area? Yes, you can. You can overtrain one area while other areas are undertrained. So the great part about the gym is that you have this access to equipment where you can train areas that need to be trained and undertrain other areas that are already overtrained, right? So this video is going to be a training vlog / talking about what I like about training in the gym, and I have some training footage from Murph's gym the other night, so therefore I can get in there and do some voiceover work on there, show you what I did for some training the other night, and there you go. So you got the best of both worlds in this video. So the thing I like about training at home is that instant access. When you're training at home, you have instant access to the gym. You just walk into the garage or in your gym setup, wherever it is in your house, do a couple sets, and then go back to whatever you're doing. So you can do these little piecemeal workouts. You can do these little feeder workouts, as people call them, or you can do a big workout or a small workout. Now, the disadvantage of this is that I find that there's a lot of distractions at home, especially because I work from home. So because I work from home, I have a lot of stuff that goes on at home that can distract me and pull me out of my workout. And it's just so easy to just jump on, play some video games on PlayStation, or go do some video editing, or go do something else instead of training. Whereas I find when I step into the gym, I have this instant focus because there's a lot more stuff to play with at the gym. And at the same time, there's this half an hour trip I have to make to get to the gym, so I want to make the most of it, right? So the home gym is great because it's immediately accessible, and you can get workouts in when you just don't have the time to commute, or you don't want to wait for equipment, or say you're one of those people that's stuck training during the busy hours where the gym is just so packed that you can't get on the equipment you want. That's the great part about a home gym. You can avoid all that. But in the end, I find that the best of both worlds is to have some sort of small setup at home, and then have a gym membership where you go and do the bigger workouts, or you start using different pieces of equipment that you just cannot have the room or space to set up in your own house. Or maybe you don't have the money to do it as well, right? Because most of us don't have an extra $50,000 laying around just to put into gym equipment, right? So it's nice to be able to go to the gym for that. Now, another thing I like about training at home is that you can blast the music, you can set whatever atmosphere you want in the garage. You don't have to worry about anybody jumping in your space. You don't have to wait for equipment. And it's kind of neat. You can kind of make that cave type of mentality there. I mean, it can be kind of a hardcore sort of dungeon. But I find that I get motivated from being around other people as well. Sometimes when they're training and they're training hard, then sometimes it helps me find my groove into that as well. And I kind of enjoy the community of it, right? You get little conversations in between sets. So the thing is, if you want to stay motivated when it comes down to training, it's always good to find as many different carrots as you can in order to get you into the gym / home gym, or gym, or the public gym, whatever. And I find that the public gym has a lot of carrots because I have conversations, I got different types of music, different types of atmosphere, different types of equipment to play with, so I can do new things. I sometimes will listen to a favorite podcast on the way to the gym, so that is also another carrot to get me to the gym. So I use all these different enjoyable moments to get me to do my workout. And I find that sometimes it's easier when I have to go to a gym or to a location, because it's almost like a walking ritual to basically get me in the mood to train. So it's almost like I'm mentally warming up, and by the time I get to the gym, I'm ready to train. So yeah, I like training at home too, but I find mixing them up, I get the synergistic sort of effect. I get the frequency of being able to train at home without having to commute, with having instant access to the gym when I need it. But at the same time, I get the motivation of going to a gym. I get extra motivation by going somewhere and having access to other equipment. So yeah, now let's get into some training. So I decided to do a few warm-up sets on bench. I'm going to start off with some chest work here. And of course, I do like the dumbbell presses lately, as you know. It's not that I'm not doing barbell bench or inclines and things. I'm doing those things as well, but I am enjoying the stretch and the feeling I'm getting from flat dumbbells. So I'm starting off with a couple warm-up sets, and I may do them slow. I may pause at the bottom. As you guys know, that helps me get that stretch. But of course, I'm not hanging the dumbbells at the bottom in a relaxed position. I'm keeping tension on the muscles. This is something a lot of people mix up. They'll try to stretch with weights and then they'll yank their joints right out of the sockets, So if you're going to do that, I'd recommend doing it extremely light, like say, 10, 15 pound dumbbells. Yeah, then maybe you can get away with the stretch then, but if you're just hanging the stuff off your joints, there's going to be a point to where your joints just can't take that anymore, so I wouldn't recommend that. But yeah, I'm moving up in the dumbbells. I'm going to move up to hundreds, and then I'm going to move to 110s because I have hundreds at home. So I did want to take this opportunity, and like I talked about in the video, that you have more stuff available to you when you go to the gym. So I'm going to take this opportunity to move up to the 110s and do a few sets with that. Now you're going to see something fancy here. Right now I'm going to pause, pause right there, just to make sure that the body is ready for the stretch position of the lift, and then I will start pumping out reps. So that's something I'll also do if I'm using a weight that I haven't used for a while with a certain exercise. Even if it's easy for me, I always try to make sure that I'm ready for it. I do this with squats too. Sometimes if I'll squat, I'll just pause at the bottom with that weight, and then I'll start moving through the motions up and down and start pumping out reps, right? But I want to make sure that everything is in alignment in the stretch position. So that's where the injuries happen, right? Is in the stretch position. They don't usually happen in the contracted position, although they can, but most of the time it's a stretch position where you have the issue. So that's what you saw me do right there. You saw me hone the technique, hone the coordination, so that way I can continue to pump out reps and get a big mountainous pump. Mountain. So my next exercise is some lat pull downs. And the reason why I do lat pull downs is pretty obvious. I like them. I like lat pull downs, and I can't do lat pull downs at home because I don't have a lat pull down machine. So this, of course, begs the question, where do I do lat pull downs when I'm at home? I do some chin sometimes on my chin up rack off the squat rack. But the problem is with the squat rack is that it has a cambered type shape. And the way it's cambered at certain areas of the chin-up bar or the pull-up bar is inconvenient for me. I find it's almost too wide or too narrow for me to really hit the back the way I want to. So I can't find that happy medium because it's just not a straight bar, right? So I do like coming to the gym and either doing pull-ups or lat pull-downs. But the nice part about pull-downs is that I can change the weight depending on what I feel like hitting. Like sometimes I want to hit different rep ranges. I want to hit a little bit higher rep ranges. I don't want to have it quite so hard on the joints at the top, especially with you know, my labral tear or whatever that I've had in my shoulder and stuff like that. Sometimes I like to keep that tension on the lats, and I don't like to put too much stress on weights that pull my shoulders out of their sockets. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can do it, but at the same time I find I lose concentration, because then I start to stabilize the shoulders more than actually keep that tension on the lats. So sometimes I will want to use lighter weights because of that. Now the other thing is I'm keeping the elbows turned in. It's hard to see from this angle here, but the elbows are always turned in slightly to keep that tension on the lats the whole time. A lot of times people flare the elbows when they do lat pull downs, and they're not necessarily getting back development from it because they're so busy flaring their elbows. So that way it looks like they're doing the lat pull down properly. They're pulling the bar down all the way, and then they're extending all the way up above the head. But because of this, they're not necessarily getting the lat tension, and they're not getting that constant tension movement on the lats. So that's why you'll see me do the motion I'm doing. I'm keeping the elbows in and therefore extending as high as I can while keeping the elbows in, so that way the tension stays on the lats and doesn't transfer to somewhere else. So here I'm doing some tricep press downs. Now I'm doing different variations of this because a lot of times people think that you have to do one exercise only one way, but the different variations that you do the movement will dictate what part of the muscle group you hit. So I'm letting my elbows come forward quite a bit, and sometimes it looks like I'm swinging, but I'm not really. I'm actually just including the long head of the triceps, so that way I can get the lockout at the bottom and at the same time get some extra movement. Now you'll see what I'm talking about in the next few clips. Now here I'm doing a variation of the movement where I basically do a tricep press down, and then what I'll do to stretch the long head is bend over and do an extra few reps and extend that set and get a deeper burn. Now there's lots of different variations you can do with this. Sometimes you can turn around and step out, or you can just bend over a lot and basically stretch that long head out. But yeah, I mean, I play with this just to see which part is actually hitting my tricep more. And yeah, I'm getting some good results with it, and it feels good. That's the most important. See? So right now you can see my elbows coming forward a bit. There you go. I'm letting it come forward because I'm keeping that tension on the long head, and then I'm just locking that out at the bottom. And now I'm going to now bend over here and extend the set and get that deep bowing. The deep bowing, as they say in Joycey. You got to get the deep bowing. Deep bowing, man. Here you can see that I'm closer to the rack. I step closer to the rack to change the way the forces are playing out. I always experiment with this because each machine will be different too. Some machines you'll have to step closer to or not, depending on how high the machine is, because that will change the angle of attack based on the angle that is coming through the pulley, right? So don't be afraid to change this up. Don't be afraid to step closer or farther away from the rack and see which one causes you to stress out that tricep the most. You'll see that I'll do an extra few sets for certain body parts that I want to work on a little bit more aggressively than others. This is kind of what goes along with what I talked about at the beginning of the video, that some parts can overtrain, some parts can undertrain, and some parts I feel are undertrained at the moment, and then I'll add a few extra sets, right? So I think I'm doing about 5 or 6 sets for triceps altogether here, where I only did about 4 working sets for chest, and I did about 4 or 5 working sets for lats. So yeah, sometimes I'll get in an extra few sets for something and maybe just a couple sets for something else. So you'll see this in the next clip with my rear delts. I'm only doing a couple sets here on the machine, but I really felt like I wanted to push those triceps because I don't have access to a press down machine that often, right? So I really wanted to use it, wear it out basically. I really wanted to use the machine because I don't have one at home, in case that wasn't clear. Another example of a machine that I don't have at home, but I like this machine because it's constant tension. As you can see, I never rest at the bottom when I'm doing the rear delts. It's just constant tension, just pumping those reps out, and I get a great pump from it. So I'm just doing a couple sets here, and then I'm gonna move my way on to legs. This is the famous Smith machine, the Smith machine lunge that I like so much. And a lot of you guys talk about you can't squat that well, or you find squats are hard on the back and stuff. And yeah, I feel you. I understand what you're saying, but this Smith machine lunge is a great movement for getting ass development, hamstring development, and quadricep development. It is a great movement. And I think a lot of people underestimate how effective this movement is. And you'll see me doing lots of warm-up sets here. I have to put one plate per side because it's kind of a counterbalance machine. So this machine isn't really, it doesn't really have weight on its own. You do have to put weight on. So I'm not doing super heavy tonight. All I'm doing is just getting the groove back. It's been a while since I've done these because I haven't been at the gym that often. I've been training at home mostly. So sometimes I get a great workout just from doing lightweight and just pumping reps out. And then I'm doing the splits here. Not total splits, but I'm trying to work on the splits just to stretch those hips out and the hamstrings and the quads. And sometimes I'm getting a little bit of knee tightness, and I think that might be coming from my hip. So yeah, I'm trying to stretch that hip out and see if I can address that issue that way. So one of these days I might be contortioning myself in pieces or something. So if you see my heels up by the back of my head, that's probably what happened. I just stretched too much. That's what happened. So yeah, some of you guys are asking me about stretching. So this is what I'll do is I'll do lots of reps, pump some blood into an area, and then I'll stretch in between. If I feel an area is tight, I'll actually hold this stretch for a minute, 2 minutes at a time. And then as another thing actually to bear in mind, when you see my arms here, I'm actually flexing my arms, not on purpose, but because I'm supporting my weight. I'm actually holding onto the bar and supporting my weight with my arms as I'm stretching the legs. So that's the other thing. You don't want to support your body weight with the stretch. That's a mistake a lot of people make, because then the muscle will sometimes fight you, along with it being also harder on the joints and stuff. So you want to try to add stretch to an area, but not all body weight, because if it's too aggressive, you'll just pull things and yank things out of place and, cause more damage than anything, right? So yeah, so this is a Smith machine lunge. You do sets of 20, 25 reps of this puppy, and I guarantee your legs will be fire. It's like, it's a tough movement. It's a great movement. I highly recommend it. Make sure you give it a try. Now you're going to find that you're going to have to experiment with your foot positioning in the front. If you bring your legs or your foot far forward, then you're going to be more in a vertical position. But at the same time, you may not be hitting the hamstring the way you want. Sometimes you want to hit the hamstring a little bit more, so maybe you want to bring the foot back a little bit, that front foot. So it depends, right? If you bend over too much, then of course your lower back's going to become involved too much too. So that's also something to consider. So sometimes when I get on a Smith machine, I have to experiment around, because it depends on whether the Smith machine is at an angle or if it's totally straight vertical or not. That'll also dictate where I have to place my feet. So again, you're going to have to just experiment with this just to see which is the best medium medium. What is the happiest medium of keeping that tension on that front leg as much as possible, and keeping as much tension off the lower back. And yeah, it's just going to take a little bit of experimentation and practice. So that concludes my workout vlog. If you need to get hold of me, just go to naturalglambodybuilding.com. And thanks a lot to the Patreon supporters. And oh yeah, what do I want to say here? Oh, mountain.
Gracias.